Thank you, Pamela. Councillor Heddle, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm delighted to be here with you today to explore local government's contribution to growing an inclusive and sustainable economy. It's great to see so many economic development practitioners from across local government and across Scotland represented here today in such difficult circumstances. And I also just want to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to Slade and the Improvement Service for so warmly welcoming me into my role as the SOLACE lead for economic development into their professional discussions, and for the invite today to speak. But let me say at the outset, I believe that local government has a pivotal role to play in securing an inclusive and sustainable economy. I don't take lightly the role that my own council and local government as a sector plays in helping to stimulate local economic growth and in providing the conditions and the environment in which investment and development can take place. And I believe it's one of my most important priorities as Chief Executive. For me, that means that local government has to contribute to and playing its full part in tackling inequalities, particularly in health, education and income, securing greater investment in the area, creating more and better jobs, supporting our businesses to innovate and grow and improve productivity, improving skills and removing barriers to employment, and ensuring future skills meet the needs of a changing and growing economy. And for me, a bit like Councillor Heddle, I think that economic growth and tackling inequality are two sides of the same coin, and I believe you cannot do one without addressing the other. Each local authority not only has an operational and a delivery role to play in economic development, but also a strategic role in setting the vision for their own local area and the people that they represent, and as the main anchor institution of that place, provide the political and economic leadership required to secure the well-being of the place and the people who live there. And over the next 15 minutes, I want to talk a bit more about the role of local government in providing economic leadership, the importance of collaboration, and the strategic delivery of economic development through new ways of working. And I'll draw on some examples from my own council in Renfrewshire. So fundamental to achieving an inclusive and sustainable economy, I believe, is the integration of economic, social, physical, cultural and environmental policy and strategy. Economic development, in my view, is the cornerstone of the whole system approach that is required for creating attractive, sustainable and dynamic places to live, study, visit and invest. And there is no one organisation anywhere in the world with the wherewithal to do everything that is required to make this happen. And to achieve a truly inclusive and sustainable economy will involve many organisations, public, private and third sector, with a wide range of capacities and experience and the will to work together and the determination to overcome organisational, cultural and political barriers. And so collaboration and collaborative leadership for me are the key. So local government has a crucial role in enabling, facilitating and driving that partnership working at a local level, setting the agenda, building alliances and brokering partnerships amongst local communities, central government, our knowledge institutions, the third sector and the private sector. And an example of this collaborative working was the establishment of the Renfrewshire Economic Leadership Panel. And this panel brought together representatives from across the key sectors of Renfrewshire's economy, such as transport, manufacturing and the creative industries, as well as other stakeholders with a key role in growing the local economy. So the University of the West of Scotland, West College Scotland, Scottish Enterprise, Skills Development Scotland and the Renfrewshire Chamber of Commerce, adding an injection of new insight and perspective into the local economic development process. And strengthening engagement with and among private businesses and other stakeholders in this sort of way is important to ensuring a whole system approach to championing economic growth and improving the performance of the whole place. And the panel, with the Council as a key member, is a forum for collaboration, the generation of ideas and the integration of action and resources. Now, I consider us fortunate in Renfrewshire that the Renfrewshire economy is relatively strong. Renfrewshire-based businesses export over £2 billion in goods and services every year across the world. Our employment rate is among some of the highest in Scotland, and we are the base for some of the UK's biggest engineering, technology and logistics companies, as well as home to the NMIS, as the Cabinet Secretary referred to, the new National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland. But even so, I certainly think it's important that we are not complacent as a local authority. The relative success of our local economy could easily mask some of the very stark inequalities that also exist in Renfrewshire. For example, until very recently, we were home for a number of years to the most deprived data zone in Scotland. Its movement to number 3 in the 2020 SIMD League table, whilst welcome, is hardly a cause for celebration, and particularly if you're raising your family there. So an equally important part of my job and that of the local authority is to ensure that the benefits of a growing and strengthening Renfrewshire economy are available and accessible to everyone. Unfortunately, investment is happening right now in Renfrewshire in housing to create new neighbourhoods for families to grow and people to prosper, in infrastructure, investing over £274 million improving connections for communities and businesses, in our cultural assets, with over £100 million being invested in our historic town centre in Paisley, and in developing AMIDS, the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District for Scotland, with over £160 million already committed on the site, including the NMIS, placing Renfrewshire back at the centre of Scotland's resurgence as a global leader in modern advanced manufacturing. Funded through City Deal and led by Renfrewshire Council in partnership with Scottish Enterprise and the Scottish Government, AMIDS is another example of the importance and effectiveness of collaborative working in strategy and delivery, and the extent to which local government can substantially contribute to achieving Scotland's economic ambitions. With NMIS almost up and running and planning consent approved for its new £65 million centre, we are already seeing success in attracting advanced research and development and other high-skilled manufacturing businesses looking to co-locate on the site. And just last week, the Cabinet Secretary, with the leader of the Council, announced that world-leading aerospace company Boeing is establishing an £11.8 million research and development project alongside NMIS, further reinforcing the importance of strong collaboration between local and central government and our academic institutions. Excuse me, and I don't have a persistent cough in case too much speaking. To ensure we seize on the opportunities at a local level that this incredible investment brings, and to ensure its benefits are shared with our local communities. In September last year, we launched a new 10-year strategy for Renfrewshire's economic growth. Its development was led by our panel, and its success will mean 9,000 new jobs, a 30% growth in Renfrewshire manufacturing, addressing skills gaps and shortages, growth in our working age population, more people into work, and an additional £400 million in Renfrewshire's economy each year. And as you all know, a strong economy needs a skilled and diverse workforce. And in Renfrewshire, again, we want to ensure local people have access to the jobs that we are helping to create. So we recently led the development of a new skills plan in Renfrewshire to support the implementation of the economic strategy through tackling worklessness, developing workforce capacity and planning for future skills needs. The skills plan begins to knit together the role and work of the local educational institutions and training providers with industry and the economic ambitions of Renfrewshire, with a focus on having a shared vision and a single system approach. An example of this is the recent development of a package of NMIS-branded pilot projects developed in partnership between the Council Skills Development Scotland, West College Scotland and the University of Strathclyde. The first of these pilot projects is a new foundation apprenticeship in digital manufacturing to be delivered by local industry, Renfrewshire schools and West College Scotland, universally available to S5 and 6 pupils in Renfrewshire schools from August 21, but targeted at those in our most deprived areas. And it's anticipated that this pilot will inform the content and delivery model for a new Scotland-wide apprenticeship offer from 2022. And so the Renfrewshire Economic Strategy and our skills plan builds on our daily work as a council, supporting people into jobs, raising attainment in schools and marketing Renfrewshire through our destination brand Paisley Is and our brilliant programme of major events like Paisley Halloween and the Spree Festival. All this work demonstrating the day-to-day operational role of local government in economic development, but also the strategic and leadership role of local government in contributing to an inclusive and sustainable economy. I think local government is also in a very unique position to identify and seize one-off opportunities to improve the local economy and overall well-being of their local area. And it's some time ago now, but back in 2015, Renfrewshire Council decided that Paisley would bid to be UK's City of Culture in 2021. And some people laughed at us for doing so. We didn't win that title, but Paisley was the first and only town to have ever been shortlisted to the final four. The bidding process and its legacy has resulted in a once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve the town's reputation and to invest in Paisley's town centre, with the council and its partners committing, as a direct result of that bidding process, over £100 million by 2022 in Paisley's unique historic venues and public space, creating a new home for cultural activity and the creative industries. We're investing £42 million in a new Paisley Museum, supported recently financially by the Cabinet Secretary. We have opened the UK's first high street museum store to protect and restore our fabulous museum collection. We are transforming Paisley Town Hall by investing £22 million to return it to the heart of life in the town centre. We are one of the few councils in the UK to open a new library, again in the High Street in Paisley. And we are investing £10 million to transform our outdoor venue and gathering spaces and public realm, alongside a growing cultural programme of festivals, events and activities to help breathe new economic life to our main town. For me as Chief Executive, the decision to bid for UK City of Culture and in securing the legacy from the bidding process, now called Future Paisley, was always about much more than a fantastic cultural programme or even the transformative capital investment in our cultural venues. For me and the team, it was about bringing communities and local businesses together with institutions, and I include the council in that they had lost faith in. It was about reconnecting them to their town, which they felt had nothing to offer them and had been left behind. And it was about building pride and confidence again in an historic town which had once been at the centre of a global textile industry. Through a partnership of local, regional and national organisations, the bid was the output from a radical and pioneering approach to cultural regeneration that was physical, social and cultural. And the legacy work is still at the heart of our economic development and regeneration programmes for Paisley, led now by Leonie Bell. Turning briefly to the challenges, there are, of course, several areas that will or are already presenting challenges for local government, coronavirus being the most immediate and pressing one, and I think there is growing recognition of the longer-term economic and social impact of the virus after the immediate health impact has passed. And unfortunately, I have to leave you after this to go back to contingency planning for that very thing. Some of the other challenges will be specific to individual local areas, while others will affect us all. So, for example, Brexit. We face an uncertain future following the UK's exit from the EU. Currently, it's not clear what will happen on the impacts to labour supply, on trade and investment, or on our continued ability to attract EU academics, students and future research investment. What is clear, I think, is that we must think and do differently to grow and sustain our economy over the longer term. Another major challenge, as we've discussed already this morning, is climate change. And the Scottish Government, as well as many local authorities, including my own, have declared a climate change emergency. Climate change is more than just about tackling emissions and net zero carbon targets, and I know that you know that. And it is also about how, in tackling this vitally important issue, we can in some way benefit our economy and other aspects of society. So, for example, in tackling issues around energy, how might we improve the design to new homes and buildings that also enhance our environment, as well as reducing our dependency on solid fuels, oils and gas for heating? How do we improve industrial processes and product use that not only reduce carbon emissions but also promote innovation and improve productivity in our businesses? The actions required to respond to the climate emergency are complex and multifaceted, and will only be delivered through the collaboration and commitment of businesses, communities, citizens and government, with local government playing its important part. Achieving net zero carbon emissions will require a step change and will need to be seen by all stakeholders as one of our most significant priorities, with local government providing leadership to drive and influence this agenda at both a local and national level. And finally, as an ex-finance director, I think we also have to talk about how we resource economic development. It's an important challenge for local government in today's financial climate. We're all aware of budget pressures and future funding headwinds, and it becomes increasingly difficult to invest for the long term if you're under very significant financial pressure right now on vital services. But with the Scottish budget now reliant more than ever on economic growth, it's imperative that we continue to play our part in investing to grow a sustainable economy. I think it's also important that in doing so, that local economic development budgets are not driven by external funding streams to the detriment of local economic development priorities. And I expect we've all found ourselves chasing the money at times. Perhaps we should give more thought to maximising the return from our assets, consideration of new approaches to funding and financing, and creating an environment to maximise private sector investment. Essentially, are we making the best use of the collective resources at our disposal to support and achieve our ambitions for a more inclusive and sustainable economy? And so, in summary, as a sector, I believe that how we react, reposition and plan with our partners for the future economy will determine how successful we will be in tackling the challenges we face head on. I started by saying that I believe local government has a pivotal role to play. I hope that I've demonstrated the increasingly significant role I believe local government has in contributing to a sustainable economy, the importance and necessity of working together, not only in delivering projects and programmes, but a more strategic and joined-up approach to policy and strategy through strong and robust partnership working between local government, Scottish Government, the private sector and, vitally, the people who live and work in our communities. Thank you very much.